Nonviolent communication has gained a lot of popularity recently, and in this video I'll give you a summary of the book Nonviolent Communication and also add some of my own ideas and some of my own usages of it. The first idea of nonviolent communication is to let go of the word deserve. It's a big problem when we try to solve some situation focusing on who deserves what instead of thinking what would contribute best to life and to all people. And while many of us irrationally jump to this conclusion that punishment is the best solution, research shows that no, rewards work better. Even if we choose punishment, sometimes choosing softer punishment is better for everyone instead of choosing harsh punishment that someone might deserve. And if you go deeper into this word deserve, you figure out that nobody completely deserves what they have. Like, for example, even if somebody is aggressive and violent, you cannot say that they deserve to be tortured, they deserve to be punished, they deserve to be killed. Because why are they aggressive and violent? Because of their circumstances. Maybe they grew up in such conditions, maybe they suffered from emotional and physical abuse, maybe their brain is not functioning in the right way and they cannot control their anger and they cannot see long-term consequences of their actions. So instead of staying on the surface and saying that somebody deserves this or that, let's go deeper and see all the circumstances, all the factors that influence the way they are. Or let's take somebody who has great relationships, wonderful hobbies, wonderful jobs, everyone loves them. Do they deserve it? Did they achieve it all on their own? No, of course not. They are open and emotional and charming like this, partly because of the family they grew up in, partly because of their genetics, partly because of their culture, and so on. So each of us have their own privileges or lack of this. And of course, while our individual efforts matter a lot, we cannot say that we deserve something or not deserve something. And we should not base our decisions to solve some problem based on this deserve, not deserve. We should try to solve the problem thinking about what would contribute best to everyone. Second idea is that in order to non-violently communicate, we need to get used to accepting our own responsibility. Each of us are destined to be free, and this is also what Erich Fromm wrote about in his Escape from Freedom. Each of us is responsible for our own feelings, for our own reactions, for our own decisions. But mind it, I'm not saying that circumstances, social systems, government, family, school are not responsible to what happens to individuals. No, they are responsible and they influence our life hugely. And if we can, we should change laws, school, families, government, and so on to make our life better. I'm not saying that if somebody is unhappy or if somebody is poor, it's their fault. Not at all. I'm just saying that it's better to concentrate on things that you can change the most. And in any circumstances, if you take responsibility on yourself for your own emotions, feelings, and states, you can change it, find solutions, you can feel powerful. If you focus on exterior circumstances, you become powerless, you give away your power. So it's important not to say, for example, that I drink because I'm an alcoholic, or I shout because that's just the character I have, I am like that, accept me. No, it's important to say that I choose to drink, I choose to shout. It is always your choice. If some emotions are happening inside you, appear inside you, it is not anyone else that is responsible for these emotions. It is your responsibility, and it is your task to understand why these emotions appear, what needs are not satisfied, how to satisfy them. Nobody else has to do that for you. Third idea, using both punishment and reward can be wrong. Punishment is the worst solution, reward is a bit better, but still, when you, for example, rewarding a child, the person that grows up will always be seeking for some exterior authority to approve of their action, to say that they are a good boy, a good girl, and so on. Instead, we should place this motivation inside this person. We should help them have this inner guidance, inner compass. Make sure they do something not because they expect a reward, but because they want to contribute to life, or just because they find it fun. It's nice, for example, if your child is good in mathematics, to say that I see how mathematics are very interesting for you. I see how you become so enthusiastic about it. This is really what you like. Reminding them that it is great that they do it, not because you reward them, but because they inside really love it. And this way we educate a person who is able to stand up to authority and to say no when given some wrong order, because they have this inner motivation and they are independent from this outside authority. We raise this person who doesn't want to serve others, doesn't want to please others while being disconnected from themselves. They know what they want and they are in contact with themselves, and thus they can serve others. The fourth idea is that in nonviolent communication, our goal is not to make somebody else do what we demand. Our goal is to create open and compassionate relationship in which we can meet each other's needs without any violence and without any oppression and dominance. Create this safe space. And if you think in long term, this is much more effective. Yes, you might not always get what you want, but altogether you get much more than if you try to force somebody do what you want. You can force them once, but then they're gonna rebel and they're gonna step away and not do it again. Number 5, our nonviolent communication. Before I begin, I want you to watch my video 3 thinking principles, how to understand yourself and others. I'll give a link. There you have some principles described that are the basics of nonviolent communication. So when we want to communicate something to somebody else, we first state the fact. We don't mix up our observation with evaluation. We don't mix up fact with our explanation of what happened. For example, saying that you never talk to me is an explanation, because never is already your judgment. First, we state facts. Second, we express our feelings like joy, happiness, anger, resentment, and not just negative feelings. If somebody does something that you like, you can say that your need for love is satisfied and you feel joyful. So first we state facts, second we state feelings, third we state our need. And all of us have more or less several similar basic needs. Sustenance, like food and clothing, rest, then creativity, then love, then community, autonomy, meaning and purpose, and empathy. Fourth step is that we state a request. We tell that person exactly what we want to be done to have this need met. And many people become troubled inside because they are not conscious that they have some request towards reality that this reality can never meet, or towards other people that they can never meet. And it can help for them to actually face these requests and see exactly what is that they are asking from the outside world and change it if it's not realistic. The problem here is that many people grew up thinking that having your own needs met is selfish, but in reality it is a gift to other people. If you clearly express your feelings, your need, and what exactly you want to be done to satisfy this need, you help other people to satisfy this need for purpose they have. 6. Let's go into some mistakes that people do. First of all, we might have problems with responsibility. Some people avoid taking any responsibility on themselves. They can blame everyone else. But others take too much responsibility on themselves. Like, for example, your child is sad or your partner is sad and you think you have to fix them, and if you don't, you're a bad parent or a bad partner. Such people often end up avoiding any intimate relationship because this burden of somebody else's needs and feelings feels like too much, or they can avoid any close contact. They don't want to hear about their problems, about their feelings, because they think that they have to change it, and if they don't, they're bad. Instead, they create an environment in their family where everyone feels very lonely because they cannot truly be themselves. They cannot talk about what bothers them. This habit of avoiding intimacy or even shaming others for being needy is very common among people who see love as denial of their own needs, and they become afraid of this love because they think that they will lose themselves, they will have to sacrifice themselves. When you see somebody else's feelings as your own failure and feel overwhelmed with them, you can start shaming and blaming this person for these feelings. This is why it is so hard to find somebody who would just listen and support us. Often when we try to talk to our parents or friends or something, they start saying things like, you still have your arms and legs. Some children in Africa are starving, so you don't have any right to be unhappy. Because exactly they take this responsibility for your feelings. And I think this is also why some people find it easier to talk openly to somebody they don't know, like fellow traveler, somebody in a bar, because this stranger doesn't take any responsibility for their feelings and doesn't try to fix them. When you take responsibility for somebody else's feelings, you also give them this message that on their own they are not able to solve it, on their own they are too weak. And on the contrary, when you just listen and when you support and when you ask questions like, and how do you want to solve it and what can you do to make it better, you actually convey this message that I believe in you, you can do it, you can do it, you are strong enough, you are brave enough, you are smart enough, you can do it. And this is much better both for you and for another person. So if you want to have deep, meaningful, great relationships, stop assuming responsibility for how other people feel. Take care of your own feelings and do not be burdened by others. Number 7 is another mistake that we can make, is confusing need and request. Need is this basic need, like need for empathy, love, understanding, purpose. But request is concrete action that you want to be taken to satisfy this need. Request should be very concrete. You want it to be measurable, achievable, realistic, time-bound, like this smart goal-setting thing. The same thing, request should be very concrete. And it is a mistake to say, for example, I need you to behave respectfully towards me, or I need you to express your love towards me more often. Because different people have different notions of what respect is, of what love is. So you should educate another person how exactly you want to be treated and what exactly you want them to do. 8 is another mistake, is when we instantly jump to our request instead of mentioning our feelings and our needs first. Why is it important? Because when we share our feelings and when we share our needs, we become vulnerable, we become open, and this makes another person be compassionate with us, understand us, and get emotionally involved with our problem. In the end, they actually want to help us. But if you just state a request, another person doesn't understand where you come from and they are less likely to agree. Number 9, when we state our request, we should use positive sentences. We should say what we want instead of saying what we don't want. Because if you tell another person what you don't want, they still have no idea of what exactly they should do to make you happy. Make sure not to just say what you don't want them to do, but also say what is that you want them to do instead. Number 10, stating your feelings and stating your needs and making requests can be super vulnerable. You can feel very unsafe in front of another person, especially that if they say no. And because of that, many people are afraid to ask directly, and they use some hints or hidden requests and get upset when another person doesn't understand them and doesn't do what they want. It is extremely important to develop this skill of directly saying what you feel and of directly asking what you want, and not shaming yourself for example, feeling angry or jealous. Our request should always be stated like, I want this, not be in form of question like, would you like to go eat pizza today? This person can say no. If you want a pizza, say, I want to go eat pizza today. Also important, when you state your request, you talk about yourself, not somebody else. For example, somebody stays late at night and you cannot fall asleep. It is not their but your problem. Instead of telling them that they are not going to sleep enough, they are going to be tired in their work, it is bad for their health. We should address it from our own perspective and say that I feel annoyed because my need for rest is not satisfied. I would love you to go to sleep at 11 each evening because it will be very helpful for me. And to make sure that another person understands us correctly, it is nice to ask questions like, what do you think I asked from you now? What do you think I said now? And have them restate what you said to make sure that they understood you correctly. If they didn't, then you didn't express it in the right way and you need to express it differently. And idea number 11, which is the most important and which is basic for everything else. First of all, you need to be non-violent towards yourself. Just like other people don't have to fit into your expectations, yourself also doesn't have to fit into your expectations. And yourself also often has a reason to be the way you are and to act the way you act. So instead of blaming and shaming, try to understand what that reason is. And if you have this desire to blame and shame yourself, stop it and go exactly see what need is not satisfied currently for you and try to reach some conclusion with yourself and satisfy that need. You want yourself to be motivated to do things not because you will be punished otherwise, not because you feel shamed and guilty if you don't. Avoid saying that I have to do something, I should do something, because each of us is rebellious inside and they want to be independent. Instead of saying that I have to do it, say I choose to do it. If there are some things that you do in your life and you really don't like them, make a list and analyze why you choose it. And you can find out that you choose to do something just for money, or you might find out that you do something because it is aligned with your values, because in long term it brings you a lot of happiness and a lot of benefit. You do it, but you do it not because you should or have to, but because you choose to do it. Try to be empathic both towards this part of yourself that did something that you regret and this part of yourself that regrets it, and to understand both of them and not to reject one of them and to say that it's bad. Our relationships with ourselves often find its expression in our relationships with others. If we cannot be empathic, compassionate, patient with ourselves and respectful with ourselves, we cannot do the same towards others. Sacrificing yourself for others is a dead end. Hating yourself is like passive smoking, ruins everyone else around you as well. Interesting thing that sometimes we can cure our relationships with others by curing some relationships in ourselves, but it can also be the opposite. Sometimes we are attracted to people that hold some lesson for us, and by building a relationship with them and accepting them for who they are, we learn to build a relationship with some part of ourselves and accepting ourselves for who we are and loving ourselves. So it's like a two-way road. When we love others, we love ourselves more. When we accept ourselves, we accept others more. Make sure to check the description if you want a short summary of the technique, this fact, feeling, need, request. To subscribe if you like such videos, leave your comments, and bye bye, have a beautiful day.